Alright, so as a reminder, as homework is due today / tomorrow, and really it could be due today, but some of you whined. I will show it again. It's really just a 522 Orchid sheet, but I mean, if you go reference a book or homework help or whatever, it's 36 through 40. So, one of the things with Phoenix is there are like definitive times of the year, like beginning of the year, kind of startup of everything, learning processes, and like kind of brainwashing you on mastery and everything. And we're beyond all that. We are deep into Q2, and I wanted to remind you about grit as we head into the final full week before Thanksgiving. Do not take your foot off the gas pedal. This is a full regular school week. Sure, yeah. But I mean, the light's turning yellow. You got to either get through or we're not stopping. So.
What do we name our brown paper?
Rules for word problems. Like, yeah. In a way, that is really the best name I got. So grit, by definition, is passion and perseverance for long-term and meaningful goals, right? One big goal we have is you came to Phoenix to be like the best student that you can be, right? To set you up so that the future self really appreciates what current self did.
Current self.
Your current self, yes. Current self meet future self. Hi, old past self. I am used to be future self, but now I'm current self. Let that blow your mind. So grit is the ability to persist in something you feel passionate about and persevere when you face obstacles. So guys, I want to remind you, please don't say false things. Like, I had somebody tell me, well, my homework's not done, but I did everything I could. And I said, well, my phone's not broken. And they're like, what? And I said, you have our cell phone numbers. If you didn't reach out to me, you didn't do everything you could. And they're like, well, I mean, I did everything I could. I said, well, did you use homework help? I'm like, well, no, but I mean, I was like, no, but like, no, you didn't do everything you could. So when you face obstacles, what do? Do you figure out a way to overcome them, or do you just shut down, right? Do not just shut down. So this kind of passion is not about intense emotions or infatuation, right? It's not like, oh, I love it, it's so pretty. It's like you gotta want it. So it's about having direction, commitment, and when you have this kind of passion, you stay committed, even if it might be difficult or at times get boring, right? So let's remember that we all want to be gritty, right? We want to have a lot of grit. So have your homework ready to turn in tomorrow or pretty quickly, probably by extensions. Hopefully hopefully the grades will be posted. So I don't know about you, but I love riding my bicycle. And I'm not joking. I have like 4 bikes hanging in the garage, 2 of which are really just rescued from a dumpster so that they would live on to see another day. Yeah, kayaking too. So we have a problem. Have I just lost my stool now? Even you're allowed to sit there, I guess, but it kind of looks like you're going to help me teach, which you might have to if you sit there. I just need to scroll, and the scroll happens over here. So let's go buy some bicycles, right? What's up, Henry?
So you will have one bicycle for each of your dogs?
Ha! Yes, although biking with dogs is a dangerous task. Latanya and George are saving up money, right, to whatever sassy 7th grader said, but I don't have any money. Latanya opened a savings account with $50 in it. Right, like you got some birthday money, we open it up with a start balance. You're good. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that. So I would like put an L on your paper and say like start with 50 or something, like whatever you can write to remember that. So Latanya. And she just got a job, so she's determined to save an additional $30 each week. George started his savings account with $75. And he's only able to put in $25 each week. Use 2 different ways. I see some people's wheels turning already. You're thinking of the question that I'm going to ask you. Use 2 different ways to find out when Latanya and George will have the same amount of money in those savings. For my people wanting to be technical and mathy, we can use function notation for this sort of stuff. So we could say Latanya after W amount of weeks. So this would be L of W. That's just like your Y, right? That's the same thing as saying Y equals, but we don't want to use Y for both of them. So that's why we can use something different like L of W, where W is going to be our input. Can anyone tell me what the equation we would write for Latanya would be, Xander? Did you write it down? You gotta write it down. That's the thing,
But
man.
I just thought of it.
Sharpen your pencil. See if that makes it come back into Xander's head. Josh.
30x plus 50.
Ooh, Y. Yeah, and now you can use X. So if we want to stay consistent with what we did last week, we were used to writing in X. So if it's L sub X, where X is weeks, why? Why did you write that, Josh?
Because 30 a week would be the variable because she doesn't know how long. Basically, you start with 50, and then that's how much you add to each group. And she earns $30 a week.
Yeah, so how the problem laid it out for us was 50 plus $30 times the amount of weeks. But because we like to write the variable first, we can write 30x plus 50. So then similarly, George, what's he saving each week? 25. Sorry, and we could put G of X here.
What would you put G of X?
That's function notation if you want to get into habits that you'll use a year or 2 or 3 years from now. That's how we write it when you get higher up. We don't just use Y like very often once you get into higher math because you want to know which function you're talking about. Yeah.
How is G times X equal to G?
It's not G times X. It's G
G
of.
G of X?
It's the function G with an input of X. So whether I say G equals, which is saying, hey, G's my function, or if we say this, it's the same thing because it's saying there is a function G. It's using an input of X. So this is not multiplication. You don't have to understand this yet, but we can't use Y for both of these, right? When we're writing it, now wait, we could, and effectively, we are trying to see where do they equal. Now, if we wanted to use Y, here's how we do it. Y sub 1, Y sub 2. Right? You can make multiple different Y's. This is not an exponent. It's a subscript. So that's how you can differentiate Y's, X's, whatever. 30x plus 50 and 25x plus 75. How do I figure out where they're going to equal each other? Let's use some random cards. Hazel, shout out to Hazel. You are sick, but feel better. Avi, how do I find out when this is going to happen? Well, what do I do? Like, what do I do next? What do I set up? Did it last week in that little activity that we did, but we're not mastered on this yet. That's for sure. So it's okay. here, Simon. We don't need to do that. That's more complicated than we need to. Sandy? We could use a table. I like that. That'll still take some time, though.
I want to do like the equals equations that we used to do, and you can just put each one on your side.
We set these equations equal. So we're going to say 30x plus 50 has a moment when it equals 25x plus 75. Please write that down. This is called the equal values method. It is at the very top of the next homework. So fine, you might as well have this. Where's your worksheet sheet for today? Oh, you put it away because you don't need it. Yeah. So this, if you don't have, most of us don't have tomorrow's homework. So this is just like a blues. I don't like pop songs. Most pop songs. So check this out. You got it. You got tomorrow's. This is tomorrow's. Tomorrow. Tomorrow. Yes, you have it. So if you look here at where it explains to you the equal values method, yeah, this is not today's, this is tomorrow's. But I put it on tomorrow's notes, so I wanted to put it in front of you now. If you have this or not, yes. So look at it. Put your eyes on it. We are all discussing something.
Can I solve it?
Can you what? Give me just a second. So notice, anyone not get one of these? 5, 2, 3. Notice what they do. They say when both of these are in y equals mx plus b form. That's crucial. We have to have them both in y equals form. So you want to show the steps. You have to show the steps so you can't skip. Go for it. If you skip, you get fired. And I knotted my shoe by accident, so now I have to fix that.
Yeah.
Because apparently I forgot how to tie my shoe. So remember, algebra tells us we can do whatever we want, and people should be writing this on their graph paper right now, because we're all doing this on our graph paper. Algebra tells us we can do whatever we want. Where's your mic? I gotta see this finished before you ask me anything else. Just scroll back up a little bit, make sure people can copy down the first step. So the first thing she did, subtract 25 from both sides. 25x, right? To isolate and put together the x terms. So we subtract 25x from both sides. We rewrite anything that doesn't change, and we write the new to anything that did change. Then, you all right?
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, we're on a bottle. I gotta get more out of the supply closet. Then we subtract 50 from both sides. Now, order here didn't really matter. She could have subtracted 50 up there and then subtracted the x's. Sam, you got this down? So if I walk back there now, all the way? Well, then don't say yes until you write it. I'm waiting on a few people. You were just the one not touching pencil to paper right then, so you got my attention. Guys, figuring out how teachers do what we do is not very hard. If you look like you're off task, you're like singling yourself out. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah. Yes?
So I don't think it matters whether you do her first step first or her second step.
You are correct. Yep.
Because
No, it does
it's the
matter.
same answer.
Yep.
It's going to be the same amount of steps.
If you divide it at any point earlier, you have to make sure you do it to every single piece. You can't just do it to one of the pieces. But it doesn't make sense to divide until you get to a simpler version of the equation. Yep. All right, questions? So, if we were to graph this, right, what do the axes then represent? What was x? And the y-axis is always the y-axis, but our functions we can call different things like L and G and stuff like that. What would these things represent? Katie Ann, what are you thinking? If we were to graph this.
I think that like the x, I guess, would equal like how much they earn per week. Yeah.
The x is how much they earn per week.
Like weeks, I mean. Yeah, weeks. And then y would be the amount. Like weeks they work. Yes, weeks they work, and then y would be the amount.
Yeah, so this is not actually money. This is just time. Guys, get used to time going on the x. And if you were part of our very funny lunchtime conversation about what it means to be a boyfriend or girlfriend in middle school, I can make the joke, your ex takes time, right? When you think back and you're like, oh, my ex took a lot of my time. Your ex is time. Your y, why do they take time? Well, they also take money. Your y is money. So, what? If you want the, like, Mr. Hudson quiz questions, they were asking me how many girlfriends I ever had, and the number is 6. No, I'm not. I'm selective, Liam. It takes a lot to like get that title. You want to be my girlfriend, you gotta put it there. All right. Any questions on that? Now hold up. If we go, we made Latanya L, right? Our Latanya graph was what'd she start with? We're just going to talk approximates. So we don't like, it's however big you have it is okay right now. We're just going to talk about where they start and everything. So you don't have to draw anything else right now. L was 30x plus 50. If it's not about the graph, I am not taking it. George was 25x plus 75. So guys, when we go to start our graph, we always start at the y-axis. Okay, I got some people that I think are only half with me. Put a value on the y-axis based off of the constant. So for Latanya, we would give her $50 as a start point. And where's George going to start? 75, right? George's start point is 75. Always start at what they start with. Then whose line will be steeper, like go up faster? Alex? Yeah, Latanya's line is going to go up faster because it has a rate of 30 versus a rate of 25. So if George is climbing like that, then Latanya is probably climbing something like that. And this, X is 5 here. Draw something like, just sketch that. It doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to like, you don't have to label anything else. But that's what we know from what we just did. Simon.
So for the 50 thing, could we draw like someone flatlining so we could have 50 is like it's lower down? And also,
wait, no, go back to before the also. Draw like a straight line.
No, the flatlining thing where it allows you to jump from 0 to something else.
Oh, you mean the lightning bolt, the broken graph.
I thought he said.
If you're gonna scale it, sure, but we don't really need to since we're not putting any other scalings on here.
It's just also, is there a graph where
This is not a precise graph.
no, well, usually the x is usually the x is smaller than the y. Have you ever done a graph?
What do you mean usually the x is smaller than the y?
Like,
You just mean quantity-wise, or we're comparing numbers?
yeah, quantity-wise. Like, have you ever done a graph where for every one X it grows like 1/4 wide, where the
Oh,
Y
yeah.
grows.
Yeah, where the y grows slower than 1, like less than 1. Yeah. All right, any other questions about our theoretical non-exact graph right here? Maybe if we start actually making it through the content we need to, we can play Ask Me Anything. Is it about the math?
Yes, about the graph.
Okay.
So, never mind.
Well, that was a lot of suspense.
So, the points that you're showing us, that is 200.
Ooh, is it?
I
Because that was the next question that we were going to ask.
Oh, what? Oh, sorry.
So we already have these rules, right? I do things out of order. So next, let's figure out how much money did each of them have in their accounts when that intersection point happened. So we would think back to our equations, L and G. What do I do with this equation to figure out how much money Latanya has? Ike is 6. Shout out to Ike too. Feel better, dude. Henry, what do I do?
Okay, you substitute the actual number in for the variable.
And we found out X was
5.
5. So we are going to sub in, and this becomes 30 times 5. Please write this workout so you don't forget. And because remember, we will have more open notes tests. We'll have a fair amount now that we're getting into harder content. Open notes tests are more common. So Latanya had 200 there, right? We want to double check. Did George have the same amount? So we sub into George's. Oh, Georgie boy. 25 times 5.
125 plus 75 is 200. Whoa! Yeah, 100. I just added it up like that.
You can even pull the table out a little bit. If you need to put that in a different spot.
I have that.
20.
Yeah.
So if they go together to the bike store, trying to ask for a deal, how much money do they have all together? $400, right? So they can go and be like, look, we want 4 wheels, 2 bikes,
I found another way to
$400.
get it quicker.
Okay.
It's $200. That's a very business thing. Did I do it?
I mean, what do you mean you found a way that does it quicker? I'm apprehensive because
Okay. Well, in fact, you take the 2 start points, and then find the bigger one, the smaller one, then you divide it by 5, and then you get the equal.
guess what you just did?
What?
Equal values method.
Look at that.
You did what we just did.
Yeah, I just did it faster.
No, but you did what we did. So
It's not a new method.
don't do this yet. Do this to start. That's the difference between the points, right? Then this division is the difference in their rates, right? 35 versus 20. So that's what we did. So you did it right. I'm just saying it's the same thing. This is what I'm trying to get you guys to see. Math has a lot of things that like, well, I did it this way. Well, you did the same thing. No, but I did it this way. Yes, you did the same thing. You what? It does. It disguises itself with the big nose and the mustache and everything.
That's actually how I envision like cold fire certificates, since they change over time, and so I imagine they put on different disguises every time you got sick.
Take off the hat, put on a cape. So Geraldo here has 2 tables that he has figured out the rules for. So fortunately, we have more than just the tables. I want you guys to figure out, can we find an intersection from the tables, or do we have to use the rules? And regardless, regardless, let's solve it with the equal values method using the rules to check that solution. Okay, I can't. So you should set the equations equal and solve is what I'm saying.
Now the entire room from your lip went off smells like shoes.
Yeah, I know, mine don't smell great. You are setting the two equations equal to each other.
Oh. Yeah.
Now also we can investigate the tables and see like, well, are there any points that are the same, but unless something jumps out at you. Hey, mind your own beeswax. So we're going to write 4x minus 6 equal to negative 2x plus 3. We're going to set them equal. I don't see any common points here, but I do see that this goes negative, 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 negative to positive split right here. Negative to positive, or sorry, positive to negative, so that goes the other way around. I'm betting that they intersect somewhere near that. Because the one's going from negative to positive and the other's going from positive to negative. I don't know. I'm just thinking. So what you should have written down first is 4x minus 6 equal to negative 2x plus 3. If you're done solving this algebraically, we're graphing it next. So you're going to need axes.
How big should it be? Just like 10 minutes?
Big enough to graph this. So, I need you guys to start trying to answer these questions on your own. Think about, where does the graph start? What does it do? Does it go up or down as it moves? This one starts at negative 6, goes up by 4 each time. This one starts at 3, goes down by 2. Now, if you haven't done this yet, you should be looking up here. We have 4 options of what we can do right now. All of them are right. I have personal preference to deal with the negative first. So I'm going to add 6, and we write this work. Alina ran away because she didn't want to write the work. 4x equals negative 2x plus 9. Now, this is not the only way to do it. So if you went a different route, just wait until the end to see, does it come out the same. I get 6x equal to 9, which when we divide, do you guys know what the onion is?
It's a humor magazine.
Where? Okay, I'm missing a pen.
Are you talking about the magazine? It was very small.
Yeah, online magazine.
The other pen? The other one?
I
Yeah.
love the onion.
Did it fall?
Isn't the pen on the Hudson Health Board?
Is there? Oh, hey, look, one of my math 2 kids probably put it over there. So, sorry, I was just thinking. So, The Onion is like a satire magazine. It's all like sarcasm and not real like headlines. So it is fake news, right? So we have like a bulletin board in the family room, all like it's a fake news bulletin board. But I was just thinking to myself like, man who ruins, person who dies at end of movie is actually man who dies at end of movie.
Yes. There's one local security were frightened when a man said he wanted tickets to see Gemini Man.
Never mind. Just
All right, so we did find 1.5. If we go back and look at the tables, this makes sense, guys. This graph goes from positive to negative in between 1 and 2. So does this graph, but they're going opposite directions, right? So this graph is coming up because it has a positive slope, and this graph is coming down. So right in between there, 1.5. They cross. You weren't even here to solve that. Don't wow us.
No, I said ow, and I already solved it before I went to the restroom, Mr. Hudson.
Oh.
I got nothing to say, Alina.
What?
This is what I imagine political debates will look like 30 years from now.
30 years from now? How about right now? So what you are talking about is fallacies. We talked about grit. So, hey, you have the last like 8 to 10 minutes to work on your practice work. We do have a mastery on Friday. Okay? So, what do you mean, which one? Like the chapter mastery. So, before Thanksgiving break, no, we're going to finish this chapter. So, if you would like to work ahead, if you think your week is going to get busy, excuse me, I will also be collecting homework on Friday. Again, if you need to up your grit level, you might need to decide right now it's time to crank up the grit a little bit. I'll be collecting homework Friday, but if you look in my plan book, because of my policy, right, of 2 days for the homework, that wouldn't make sense because we'll be doing the closure on Thursday. I'm just not going to collect the closure on Friday when I collect homework. So 522, 523, 524, those will all be due on Friday because 524 is Wednesday's homework. And those should all be back here either later today or tomorrow. I've sent all of our copies, so they should be coming back just as the copy center gets them done.
Let's hope the copy center is good to us.
Yeah, the website has been super slow recently, so I don't know if something's broken or what, but the copies keep coming.
Use a new copy
Yeah.
center.
So, I'm kind of confused about the schedule. Are there still going to be study days?
Oh, yeah. I can show you the schedule. Sorry, that was the realization I just had. I had the schedule.
Is it going to be, like, all the classes or just science?
Well, everything.
I'm not going to answer questions until you get to look at this.